and welcome to Biztrends show. My name is Enyonam. This program is proudly brought to you by NPRA, Data Bank, Leap Tomato Paste, J&G Insurance Brokers, and Biztrends Enterprise. Just a few weeks ago, the Minister for Finance, Ken Oforiatta, was in Parliament to present the mid-year review budgets. A lot of institutions, including think tanks and individual economists, has their own, thought about the mid-year budget review. As part of discussions on Biztrends, we decided to delve into the budget review and get an objective explanation or understanding from an individual who is an economist, to understand from his point of view as an investor or an entrepreneur, what does he make of the mid-year budget review that was presented recently by the Minister of Finance. And to help us with this discussion is Dr. Jerry Mofant. He's the president of MBIC Group. Let's go for a quick break, and when we come back, I'll introduce my guest to you. Stay with me, I'll be right back.
Tomato paste when I would eat, I don't want to leave tomato paste in Ghana. Ah!
Aha! This is what I call Ediane.
Secret na LEAP, leap. Someone named a leap tomato paste Ediane there. It was superb and palatable taste. Na esu biaso. There were large and small sizes for chop bars, restaurants, and enfie.
For bulk purchase, contact 033-2095-314 or 050-141085.
Welcome back from that quick break. Hello, Doc.
Hi.
This is a Corona greeting.
I can see it. That's wonderful.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Right. Doc,
Right.
As an investor
That's
or an
right.
entrepreneur,
That's right.
an economist,
That's right.
from where you sit,
Sure.
I have read through an interview you've granted with Business and Financial Times.
That's right.
But what do you make, your general thought of the mid-year budget review?
Yeah, the mid-year budget review, I see it to be a passive budget and not an active budget.
Really?
Yes, when we say a passive budget, the budget does not spur growth. The budget does not engineer any planning of we actually coming out from the challenges in which we are.
Right.
It is just a budget that had been crafted for, I wouldn't call it a proper political propaganda,
Okay.
but I may probably attribute it to the fact that the budget was actually meant just to keep people excited, but that's not the reality on the ground.
Really?
Yes, that's the truth. Yes. Yes.
Doc,
Yes.
to make us excited
Yes.
in a time like this,
Yes.
do we need such things?
That's the unfortunate part of it.
Right.
The reason is like this. You know, the economy in which we are in currently, or where we're running, we are running at negative on all fronts.
Okay.
We call something primary deficit, the primary deficit. The primary deficit is simply the interest we take out of the principal we're supposed to pay at almost every point in time.
Right.
And you realize that in 2018, we went through a negative by 1.4.
Yeah.
And then 2019, we went through negative 1.8. And then in 2020, we're anticipating to go negative 4.1. And as a movement,
But this
it
is
will
due
go
to the
far from
coronavirus.
that. No. The economy,
I read in your report
Yes.
that you said we should not entirely.
it's not coronavirus. It has nothing to do with coronavirus. Before coronavirus, our economy was on its knees. And let me tell you why the economy was on its knees. One of it was that, you see, the banking sector financial crisis. You have citizens whose money, about let's say 21 billion Ghanaians is locked up. This is how economy grows. Economy grows when there is money in people's hands. When people would be able to invest the little resources that they have to be able to generate further incomes. That is how economy grows. When you look at the way we calculate GDP, GDP is based on the normal business activities we do every day. So if there is no money in people's hands, what you're doing is you're stifling the economy. You can take a simple thing when you want to take a developed country like the United States.
Right.
You realize that because people were not having money and money was not growing, they decided to introduce the credit cards. That means that you can spend when you don't have money.
Yes.
Good. The reason was to boost growth
Okay.
and to drive demand,
Right.
to be able to make sure the economy grow as it should be. Now, what if a situation whereby you've been able to take all your citizens' money and you're holding it, you're not giving it to them? What do you think will do to your economy? Your economy will suddenly ground, it gets so it grounds. Now, the other side of it that you have to know, which is very interesting, is that they came out to say that the oil prices was part of the reason why we were going absolutely down. If it is the oil prices, then the simple question everybody would ask is that, why then do we say we are creating the economy? There is one thing you should know. Economy is created. Economy is not inherited. So indeed, if oil is a natural resource, you are not creating it. And the price of natural resources has gone down. And because of that, it's affecting the entire economy, bringing the economy down. Then what exactly have you done? It means you've done nothing. That is one side of it. Now, the other side of it is that the finance minister reported that the financing needs would be somewhere around 7.4 billion, just because the total is 17.4. And then the Bank of Ghana is financing about 10 billion. Now, it doesn't end there. You see, government rolled out bonds.
Yes.
And the bonds was the net of, when you take the, what do you call it, the net of the recoveries by the receiver. The money the government needs to provide is about 19 billion. Since the government doesn't have it, they decided to roll out something we call the resolution bonds. And the resolution bonds is about 19 billion. Now, these bonds, you have to pay interest. And the interest percentage is about 20%. Now, yes, if it is about 20%, we're looking at it that year on year, the yield or the interest to be paid on this loan is 4 billion. So if you add the 4 billion to 17 billion, you get 21 billion. The deficit target is 25 billion. So if you're going to get 21 billion and central bank is giving you 10 billion out of it, how much are you left to finance? 11 billion,
yes.
And not 7.4 billion. So it means that the whole budget turned out to be like a misleading budget, because that budget cannot necessarily stick.
Okay.
And it cannot sustain the economy.
So in this case,
Yes.
I guess you're not satisfied with how the minister justified the expenditure of the country.
Yes, it is not. Yes, because you see, there's one thing. The way minister justified the expenditure, that's why initially when I said it was a passive budget, it's not a passive to drive growth. For a typical example, along the line, the government came out with a position that they had helped the credit sector. Before I come down to your spending, they've helped the credit sector. And by giving out loans, they've reduced interest rate to 14.5%. That was one, the assertion that they made. And then the second aspect of it is that they had reduced the bank reserve rate, from 10 to 8% to be able to get money into the economy. All right. We call something an arbitrage. This is the way arbitrage works. Arbitrage works when the other sector is not growing, and then people have to hook onto the other sector.
Right.
You'll realize that in the budget, the fixed income bonds the government so claimed had grew up to 46.5 billion Ghanaian cedis. How would you be pumping money or reduce interest to pump money into the economy, and the money is being used to buy bonds?
It doesn't make sense.
You see how it
doesn't make sense.
You see how it is?
Right.
Good. That is to mean that the bonds is more comfortable at this moment to buy than to give it to a normal credit.
Right.
That is the truth about it.
Are they not aware of what you're saying right
You see,
now?
that is what I'm trying to say, that there are two ways.
Okay.
Either it could be just to make a fun of the Ghanaian citizens' intelligence, or possibly the other way around the budget was actually read out, was just could be a pure ignorance about the finance and economic principle and how we expect it to be.
Okay.
That is my bottom line on it.
So,
and now the expenditure,
right.
coming down to the expenditure the government actually made, that was, we were so euphoric about it. There is something you should know. We don't teach people how to eat. We teach people how to invest. You don't get up and say that, look, I am paying your water bills, and a cooked rice could cost up to 54 million Ghanaian cedis. Cooked rice. You see, we are joking in this country.
It was done during the lockdown.
You see, that's one thing you should know. During the lockdown.
And they provided the data. You saw the data.
You see, the data, before even
Are
the lockdown.
you saying they cooked up the data?
You see, let me tell you something.
Right.
Initially, the government was paying hotel bills for quarantine people.
Yes.
The other side of it is that they were doing tracing, you know, COVID-19 tracing. If I had to tell you the bill that was accruing out of it, that was when we went for $100 million from the IMF.
Yes.
And they granted us 35 million at the initial stages. Ask whether it has been accounted for and how that money was used. You see, let me be very honest with you. Look, this economy, if I understand the local language very well, I will tell you that the economy is dancing palongo.
Hey.
The economy is not well being managed.
Right.
It's not well being managed.
Okay, Doctor,
Yes.
hold your fire. I'm going for a break.
Yes.
I'll be right back for us to continue from where you stopped.
When you've worked hard for your money, you want to make sure you're investing it with the right company. And when you need your money, it will be there for you. As Ghana's leading investment bank, Data Bank has been helping Ghanaians achieve financial independence since 1990. At Data Bank, you can purchase mutual funds, treasury bills, or shares. We're one of Ghana's leading pension and provident fund managers.
Backed by our world-class research team, Data Bank has a proven track record of strong performance and good corporate governance. Knowing where to invest is key. Invest wisely, invest with Data Bank.
Doc, let me read this to you and tell me whether you share in it or not.
Yeah.
The former finance minister,
That's right.
Setekpe, he said some of the publicized promises in the 2020 media budget review may not be fulfilled.
Yes.
According to him, these promises do not have provisions in the detailed statement that has been presented to Parliament for approval. Do you share in this thought?
I share exactly.
Is he not paying politics here?
It's not playing politics. You see, we are all worried about the budget. We've all read about it.
Okay.
And let me point out something to you. Revenue has fallen down completely.
Right.
And the reason why revenue fell down, nobody should blame COVID-19 for revenue fall. I told you point blank that because government is holding people's money
Yes.
through the banking sector collapse,
Yeah.
that's the reason why the economy fell. And once the economy fell, suddenly it affects revenue. Because indeed, these monies are those that have been used to go to the market to actually trade.
Right.
So it has been fall, revenue falls. Now, if revenue have fallen down to that level, and we have budget deficit, you see, one side issue that is even quite worrying is that, do you know the banking sector costs are not being added to the budget deficit?
No.
It has not been added.
Yes.
And then we have the energy sector cost.
Yes.
That has not
It's also
been
pending.
It's also pending. That has
Right.
not also been added. Good. Now, how is he going to fulfill a whole lot of promises that he has made in the mid-year budget that we left with about 6 months or 4 months or 5 months to end the year? How is he going to finance it?
Carry forward.
Carry forward like in what? No, in 2021.
Yes.
In 2021.
Yes.
Yes, in 2021, we don't know the government that is going to win.
Okay.
So, making.
I mean, they are hopeful.
No.
So we are assuming that
Yes.
they would, make those presentations to us in the subsequent year if they win power.
It is only in Ghana that I realize that a wishful thinking has got a place in objective
Right.
setting.
Okay.
Because you don't take a wishful thinking into setting up a budget.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Right. How best can we address our sector growth,
Yes.
aggregate and credit distribution of the GDP?
Exactly. You've asked a very intelligent question any other person could have asked. Yes, so let me tell you, we grow economy by deliberate sectorial strategy.
Right.
Is that okay?
Yes.
You cannot in any way grow your economy by saying one district, one factory, one village, one dam. We don't grow economy like that. Let me tell you, I have been a consultant and I have consulted for so many countries across both Europe and Asia.
Right.
And let me tell you one thing that we do. Usually, a country would have to pick about 2 or 3 areas to be more competitive. And I can mention this by giving you examples. In the United States, you can see that United States is very good at aircraft manufacturing and emotional pictures. We call it Hollywood. And then the second, when you take Italy,
Entertainment.
yes, when you take Italy, you can identify them with fabrics and shoes. When you take Germany, you can identify them with pharmaceuticals and automobile.
Right.
We have the Benz and the BMs. And when you take Switzerland, you can identify them with pharmaceutical and banking. What would you be able to identify Ghana with?
We have oil, cocoa.
No, oil and cocoa, these are natural produce. You see?
Right.
And if there is natural produce like that, do you know how we call the economy?
What do you call it?
Okay. The economy is called an inherited economy because we inherited it.
Okay.
We didn't create it. Ashantis will say, Yabatoye. We came to meet it up. Because oil was there, we just discovered it. Gold was there before we were born.
Timber.
We just discovered it. Timber was there before we were. So what exactly have we used our intelligence for? What exactly have we used our creativity for? So if you sit down when you say you're creating an economy, what kind of economy are you creating? Are you making mockery of the people and their intelligence? Are you trying as much as possible to make sure people's knowledge as regards to how to create an economy? How to create an economy. Are you taking them for granted? There is something you had to know. Part of the preambles and variables of the economy has got to do with your exchange rate. The exchange rate. Now, there is something you should know. As we got into COVID-19, many countries around the world that which have foreign trade, because the trade volumes came down, the exchange rate equally came down. Because no goods was coming in. We were not importing. So the dollar was not actually running ahead of the city. But in Ghana, it is the opposite. So why is it that all borders have been closed? And all the borders have been closed, yet our dollar is keep on growing. Where is that economic statistics coming from?
Wow.
The reason we'll have to tell you is that, look, we have overborrowed and we're paying interest
Yeah.
when COVID-19 was there and there's no work.
Okay.
So granted that there wasn't COVID-19 and we were paying this and the dollar was keep on running, galloping. And then there is no COVID-19 and normal trade functions would have to go. Do you know how far our dollar would have
I
depreciated?
guess generations will come and meet this borrowing and they'll keep paying and paying and paying.
It's because we're not running a smart economy.
Right.
Yes.
Now, what are we not doing right as a country in managing our economy? And who do we blame? Who do we hold responsible for the situation we find ourselves in right now?
Okay. One thing is that I will blame one, we converting our manifesto into a country policies. That is one of our being.
Political manifesto?
Manifesto into the country's policy. Because what is happening is that when they write a manifesto, they came out that, look, we're going to do one district, one factory, we're going to do planting for food and jobs. So it means that the country's policy for the next 4 years is going to be the manifesto. That is one of our being. Two, because of politics, we don't take the qualified people. We are not pragmatic. We don't feel like, look, we need a competent people to be able to run. Three, we are looking at criteria that we have to select, even granted that we even want a finance minister or we want somebody strategically to run the country. One other key thing is that you're not only relying on only economics. You're not relying on only accounting or finance. You're not relying on law. What you do is that you need a combination of these three. You need economics, you need finance, you need strategy. Three, because if you know economics and you don't know strategy, how do you achieve the main objective you set for yourself?
But we have a vice president who is an economist.
You see, the vice president sometimes, do you know, surprisingly, he happened to be my senior, far ahead of senior in Tamale Secondary School before I left the country.
Right.
So it's coincidentally I haven't known him. But let me be very honest with you. He had not been so forward coming out with the way the economy is managed well. The economy has a problem. And indeed, I believe that either one, maybe his input might not necessarily been taken, or probably if his input is taken, and this is what we have, then I'll feel very disappointed. If his input is taken, and this is the way the economy is, I'll feel very disappointed. And if I were to be him, at this point in time, I would have just said, look, enough is enough. I won't continue with this. Look, the economy goes to have something to do with his credibility. Because everybody knows him to be a very sharp and smart person. And they know that indeed, when it comes to economy, he would be so good and trump himself as one of them. But you see, the policy outlook and his utterances, the way it has been, it is quite a bit worrying to some of us that we feel like performance is getting to almost non-existence. And that is my worry.
Right.
Yes.
There's this interesting statement that Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu also said. Let's quickly touch on that and then we'll move on. Now, he was speaking on Joy FM Super Morning Show.
Sure.
And this is what he said. He said he believed the finance minister review of the country's mid-year budget was not principled enough.
Yes.
He continued to say that the minister failed to give a proper account of some monies.
Yes.
Now, what I want to ask is that he's also a politician who is in opposition.
That's right.
And there's a politician who is in power.
That's right.
Don't you think at times some of these utterances come just to, you know, win favor or score political points within the public space?
Well, you see, like
or they are speaking the honest
you
truth.
see, like I told you, for example, if we have, what do you call it, a banking sector cost that had not been catered for, and we have, what do you call it, a debt on an energy that had not been catered for. Certainly,
so all those
he's not far from the truth. Exactly. He's not far from the truth.
Right.
Now, the finance minister went out there to float out bonds. And the bonds, he said that it was 350% subscribed. That means that there is public confidence in our bonds. Let me throw something to you for you to understand. That bonds is a junk bonds.
Really?
It's a junk.
Whoa.
And let me tell you why it's a junk bond. It's a junk it's a junk because they are looking at it, it has a low quality asset that we cannot even pay. Let me also tell you, Moody followed up on the 18th April. And when I had to downgrade Ghana's bond to about B3 negative, just away to junk. This very time, countries are looking at this, either to go negative interest rate. Negative interest rate means that when you borrow, government pays you, or when you borrow, the bank pays you money. And when you put in deposit, you pay money for them keeping your money for you because they want money to come out into the economy. So because of that, most of their interest rate is almost going to zero and negative.
Doc, don't forget, the president says Ghana beyond 8.
Yeah.
So meaning we are big enough.
Yes.
Coming up is the investment bit brought to you by Data Bank and pensions brief brought to you by NPRA.
So, as fund managers, I think we have a responsibility to our clients. Whatever situation we find ourselves in, we need to find a way of giving value to our clients. In these COVID times, it's not the time to start hiding behind the COVID, to throw our arms up in the air and just say we can't do anything. I don't think that is the right thing. This is the time to step forward, get our creative juices going, and think through what it is that we can do differently. The world has changed and means we also have to change. The most important thing, if you ask me, is to determine your risk appetite and to determine where it is that you can give value to the clients and to yourself and to whoever it is that you're working for. That, for me, is the most important. Stocks are down, yes. Fixed income is like most attractive, but no matter what it is, there will be people who would want to have a bit of both. There will be people who want to have extreme risk and just have a lot more equity. There will be people who will not want to take any risk and will just have to be at the fixed income side. But the important thing is to do your research, fish out those stocks that are still fundamentally good and have very good prospects, have conversations, use data to make your decisions, and just get the right balance. And I think eventually you'll be able to give value to whichever category of clients that you have in front of you.
Hi, my name is Ernest Amate Vondi. I work with National Pensions Regulatory Authority as the Director of Planning, Research, Monitoring and Evaluation. This week on Pensions Brief, we continue with the topic on misappropriation of pension funds. Now, when a pension fund custodian is involved in a debt, can the court give an order to attach pension funds in his custody as settlement of a judgment? Now, the law is very specific as to what must be done. In the National Pensions Act, in section 209, it says that despite the provisions of any other enactment, pension funds or assets kept with a custodian under this National Pensions Act shall not be used for the payment of claims of a custodian's creditors in the event of liquidation of the custodian, which means therefore that funds that are held by a pension fund custodian cannot, and let me repeat, cannot be used to support the custodian in the event of liquidation. So we encourage you to have that confidence that funds that are contributed to pension schemes are kept safe and will always be available to pay the benefits as and when they arise. Thank you for your attention. For any further inquiries, contact the National Pensions Regulatory Authority on 0302 968692.
So welcome back. There you have it. I believe you know what to do moving forward with your investment and of course as far as pensions is concerned. Doc.
Yes.
MBIC.
Yeah, that's correct.
What would be your advice to government as far as expenditure is concerned?
Is concerned, okay. What we would have advised the government is this. You see, the wage bill is bloating up.
Right.
Other expenditures are coming in and bloating almost everything. And that is actually putting Ghana at the back burner.
Right.
So what we would have advised the government is that, look, just make sure you have a much more proactive spending.
Okay.
This is the way you had to spend. If you had spent and bringing in machineries, you introduce one district, one factory. If you had brought in machineries, equipments into the country to turn our raw materials into a more finished goods for export. If you had spent to make sure you had developed industries, to make sure these industries become more competitive, we would have loved it. So I would have told government that, look, don't excite people by buying food for them. Don't excite people by just paying their water bills for them, but excite people by putting them on their feet to work, and they will be able to take care of themselves.
Now, our time is almost up, but we have a few months to election.
Yeah.
What would be your general advice, not just to government, but also to the business sector in general?
My advice is that as we're going into 2020 election, let us not be moved by the government policies.
Okay.
Let's just look at how we can, for the business side, let's look at how to form an alliances with major counterparts outside the country and see how best our businesses will move on. Looking at the government, I am sorry, I wouldn't like to be so critical on the government, but I would say that the government has actually not done well so far. And I believe going towards elections, people are watching and people are listening. We should rather make a good choice. If you could not even get some for us, at least leave a legacy that we can point out to.
Right.
Let's make sure we elect people who will not lie to us, but people who are serious with our life. People that we can see something and point our hands to. And following lies should be the thing of the past.
Okay.
That's my conclusion.
Right. Following lies should be a thing of the past. My name is Enyonam, and my guest here is the president of MBIC Group, Dr. Mofant. Thank you so much for sharing your thought with us.
Wonderful.
We appreciate you.
Wonderful.
Next week we'll come your way again with another powerful entrepreneur, economist, or an investor to share his thought on what is trending in his or her area of business. Until then, it's a bye for now. Doc, thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.